All right. I'm looking at a site called 247 Sports that says that the Ohio State 2021 recruiting top target list has been reshuffled and refined, Steve.
Yeah, how about that? Every week, there's so much movement with recruiting that you gotta update it. I know one of their top targets, Emeka Egbuka, an outstanding wide receiver out of Washington, is set to announce his top 4 schools. I think that's coming up tonight at 6 or 9 o'clock Eastern time. I'm not sure. I didn't get the exact time, but tonight he's going to announce his top 4 schools. I think Ohio State's going to firmly be in that group. And the Buckeyes, after taking G. Scott out of Washington last year, are all over the place in Washington now. The other one out there is J.T. Tui Malohau. He is a defensive end and a lineman out of the state of Washington. And he is ranked as the nation's number 4 overall prospect. So if they could get one or both of those guys out of the state of Washington, it would certainly help pad the lead that they already have for the nation's top class for 2021. Some other guys, that are up there, J.C. Latham is an offensive lineman that the Buckeyes have been tracking, and he's probably at or near the top of their wish list. In Ohio, they've pretty much picked Ohio clean with what they want. They have 18 commitments right now, but there's always that possibility. And if there is football in the fall, that maybe an Ohio kid would jump out of the mix and be in there. Hard to say. I know a couple other guys, a wide receiver, Troy Stellato, and a tight end, Hudson Wolf, could also be on their wish list. So Ryan Day and his guys get down to the last probably 4 or 5 spots in the recruiting class for 2021. They have 18 commitments. They have 18 seniors that are set to be on the roster this coming season. And you kind of start with that as your target number 18, but then you notice, you have Justin Fields, Sean Wade, potentially Tyreek Smith, the 2 guys we talked to yesterday, Josh Myers and Wyatt Davis. All those guys in some way, shape, or form, 4 or 5 of them could be looking to jump to the NFL, and that would take your class size out to 23 or 24 pretty easily. So I think that's probably a pretty good target number right now in the mid-20s for Ohio State in 2021.
Yeah, the Emeka Egbuka, the number 1 receiver in the nation. I think everybody feels pretty good about Ohio State's chances there. And the Tui Maloa went to the same school as G. Scott, so they're former teammates. There's a connection there. And this Washington pipeline, who would have thought any year? But I guess the last couple of years, it's good to get in there with the players that they're churning out. And, I don't know what state is next. Colorado, Maine. We know Michigan has Massachusetts. They've got a wall around Massachusetts, so Ohio State will leave that alone. Maybe Ryan Day can hit up the old homestead and put a fence around New Hampshire next.
There you go. Yeah, I've seen guys come and go from a lot of places. Brandon Bowen was from Utah, I think, and I don't know, just they've had a couple guys from Colorado, but it's been hard to get anybody from Colorado to really pan out. They've always kind of gotten injured or whatever. I know Joey O'Connor was an offensive lineman about 7 or 8 years ago that was highly touted out of there and didn't work out. They had a linebacker from there too that didn't end up panning out either as well. But I don't know. I guess over time, you look at it. They're still waiting to see from Nevada how Haskell Garrett's going to turn out, and who knew he'd be the better part of that bargain with Martell. So there you go.
Tommy Togiai probably be starting at nose tackle this year from Pocatello, Idaho. That's the next pipeline is Idaho.
Yeah. What's interesting, Tony and I are at every OSU home game. I think I've been at every OSU home game that's been played since probably 1986, so 34 years, because that's when I started going to school there. It may even go back to the late part of the 85 season, depending on whatever their last game or two was that season. But I've been at every game. what's fun is about 10, 15 minutes before the game or while they're doing the warm-ups, Bob Kennedy, they have this the PA guy, he goes through the entire starting lineup. And it's just interesting when you hear the hometowns of each guy starting for Ohio State. It sounds like it's an NFL team, because you've got guys from probably 14 or 15 different states that are, in the starting lineup week to week, and predominantly most of them from Ohio. But generally, that's been less and less with Urban Meyer. He's taken fewer and fewer guys from Ohio. And I'm doing a review right now on the 2014 recruiting class that'll be up later today. They had 9 of the 23 guys were from Ohio, and then the remaining, whatever that number is, 14 other guys were skewed over 11 states. So with Urban Meyer, they went coast to coast, and obviously still doing the same thing with Ryan Day.
Snake Spencer 725, just to clarify here, depending on your recruiting service. So ESPN has the Oklahoma kid Mario Williams at number 1, 16th rated player overall. They've got Egbuka as the number 2 rated wide receiver, number 29 overall. So pick your service. They're both extremely talented, 1 and 2, 2 and 1, whatever. When they're that close to the top of the list, at number 16 and number 29, they both can play and have supreme talent. So as Steve pointed out, and we discussed a few weeks ago, whether the recruiting class lands at number 1, which looks to be the case, or number 3 or whatever, let's not get caught up in specific rankings. But yeah, just to clarify, Oklahoma just locked up a commit as well, Mario Williams.